Fired at, gassed, and shoved. On June 1st, President Trump threatened military action to quell unrest that has spread since the killing of George Floyd, a black man in police custody.
I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
As he spoke, a remarkable scene unfolded outside the White House. Police in riot gear fired gas canisters and used grenades containing rubber pellets to scatter largely peaceful demonstrators. Their actions cleared the way for the president to cross Lafayette Square Park and walk to the historic St. John's Church for a photo op. The Washington Post analyzed hours of video footage from protest participants and media and obtained audio and transcripts of police communications and other records to assemble the most complete account to date of the crackdown, including the roles of the agencies involved and the tactics and weaponry they used. At 5 p.m., 2 hours before a citywide curfew, protesters gathered along H Street Northwest between 15th and 17th Streets, on the edge of Lafayette Square. The park sits directly north of the White House. Because of the protests, it is closed to the public. About an hour later, law enforcement and military forces begin massing in large numbers. One group that includes Secret Service assembles behind a barricade on the northern perimeter of the park. Another group forms a line in the middle of the park, close to a command center run by the United States Park Police. This group includes members of the D.C. National Guard, who can be identified by their camouflage uniforms and the insignia on their shoulders. Park police officers are also present. At 6:08 p.m., protesters near H and 16th Streets spot Attorney General William Barr near the command center. General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is seen behind the barricade several minutes later. Protesters erupt in cheers when some security forces appear to take a knee. It quickly becomes clear that soldiers are kneeling only to pull on gas masks. On a DC police radio channel, officers are told that CS gas, a form of tear gas, may soon be deployed. At 6:18, Secret Service members advance onto H Street. They briefly push into the public street, but pull back. Some protesters throw eggs, candy bars, and water bottles. The footage reviewed by the Post did not show protesters throwing bricks or caustic liquids, as authorities have alleged. A radio transmission 3 minutes later captures law enforcement officials checking on the status of grenadiers, a term for law enforcement personnel armed with launchers that fire chemical canisters or other projectiles used for crowd control.
John, can you just confirm when you have all the grenadiers and shields with you?
At 6:22, Barr and Milley leave Lafayette Square. A voice on a loudspeaker briefly cuts through the noise. The announcement appears to come from the southeast part of the park. Even on the front lines of the protest, in footage reviewed by the Post, the words are drowned out. Protesters turn to one another in confusion. 4 minutes later, a DC police official tells officers that some type of police action is about to take place. He instructs DC police to hold their positions on 16th Street. At 6:28, an alert comes through on a different police radio channel being used by officers from Arlington County, Virginia, who are taking directions from Park Police.
Command to talk. Level 1's been activated.
Copy. Level 1 activated, 1828.
Level 1 refers to a policing tactic aimed at quelling violent unrest with as little force as possible. It involves dispersing crowds by moving rapidly toward them, avoiding physical contact. At that moment, along the northern edge of Lafayette Square, National Guard and other law enforcement forces move north toward the barricade. At least one protester throws water bottles. Another yells at the crowd to remain peaceful. The Secret Service and Park Police begin to push a group of protesters up Vermont Avenue. Park police officers on horses appear from the northeast corner of Lafayette Square. Members of the Bureau of Prison Special Operations Response Team, identified by their patches, are soon seen arriving at the barricades. The unit is trained to put down riots and resolves hostage situations in federal prisons. They are rarely deployed in public. They are amongst several groups armed with pepperball guns and canister launchers. The canister launcher seen here can fire a projectile that breaks on impact, expelling irritant powder. If fired directly at a person, the canister can cause serious injury or even death. The pepperball gun seen here fires small balls of a chemical irritant derived from hot peppers. A metal canister is seen here on the vest of law enforcement. The orange markings on the canister match those of tear-inducing chemical grenades. At 6:32, officers received the orders to push back the largest group of protesters, the group on H Street. They advance on the crowd. The protesters retreat. The police line stops next to St. John's Church. A Park Police sergeant, identified by his white helmet, warns a protester.
Now! You better back up! I need... Down. You're doing. I'm going down!
At 6:35 on H Street, Park Police officers rush again toward the protesters. Other officers quickly follow. A chemical grenade is rolled. It is unclear by whom. A large explosion is heard. CNN cameras filming the scene from above show the crowd turning and running. A Park Police officer strikes an Australian cameraman with a shield and grabs his camera. Another officer is seen swinging a baton at reporters' back as she and the cameraman flee. Park Police push a group of protesters west on H Street.
Keep moving. Head down. Keep moving. Keep moving.
A protester films pepper balls fired toward the crowd. They can be heard striking the ground.
Keep moving. Keep moving. They got pepper balls. Keep moving.
A member of the Park Police SWAT team throws a sting ball grenade into the crowd. The devices are designed to explode, firing rubber balls in a radius of up to 50 feet. Several Park Police SWAT team members and a member of the Bureau of Prisons tactical team are seen firing pepper balls into the fleeing crowd.
Stop shooting them! Why are you shooting us? Why?
In a matter of minutes, the skirmish line surges past St. John's Church. Police pause a few feet beyond the intersection. On camera, a Park Police officer wearing a yellow helmet is seen gesturing at officers to hold the line at 16th and H Street Northwest. A minute later, on 16th Street, a Park Police SWAT team officer crouches down to roll a chemical grenade toward the protesters.
Another tear gas bomb right at our feet. We're going to move back from this right now.
Arlington units, we are going all the way to I Street. Copy I Street.
A line of at least 12 mounted Park Police officers are deployed to disperse the crowd. At 6:44, the president begins to speak in the Rose Garden. He's minutes away from leaving the White House to go to the church.
My fellow Americans, my first and highest duty as president is to defend our great country and the American people.
Outside, officers detain protesters. officers pushed protesters more than a block west along H Street to 17th Street, where the protesters are forced south. Yellow smoke rises from 2 chemical grenades thrown onto the street. Although police and White House officials have denied that it was used, a WUSA 9 television reporter at the intersection recovered a spent canister labeled CS, a substance commonly known as tear gas. He later posted a photograph of it on social media. CNN airs a shot directly above St. John's Church, showing the square, which had been packed with protesters at the start of the hour. It is empty, except for law enforcement officials. At 7:02, President Trump walks out of the White House, accompanied by Barr, Milley, and Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense. They begin the walk across Lafayette Square for the 3-minute photo op.
Is that your Bible? Your Bible?